Hey guys, it's Monday, August 3rd, and this is day number 141 of At Home Fitness with Coach A. We're going to be mixing up the format of this for you guys and make it a little easier to get through the whole video and or the pieces that you need to get through, specifically so you don't have to watch an entire 12-minute video if that's not something you need to do. So, without further ado, here's the first workout of this week. The warm-up today is going to be a 2-minute run. Make sure that is a warm-up paced jog, probably not necessarily an aggressive run. Then we're going to get into 3 rounds, 15 air squats, 20 shoulder taps, and 10 glute bridge lifts, so up and down, not really a hold, each side. When you guys do the glute bridge lifts, the thing I'm looking for there, meaning over 3 rounds, is that we start to move the foot, specifically the heel, a little bit further away from our glutes as we're laying on the ground per round. So that first set of 10 each side might have the heel pretty close to the butt. Second set's going to get a little further away. Third set's going to get a little further away. Make sure as you create extension, you're still relatively at least close to 90 degrees at the bend of the knees. Because if you guys are getting out there with an extended leg, it's something that's still beneficial for the glutes and hamstrings, but it's going to be a lot harder for some people. It's not really going to be a warm-up, and it's going to function a little differently. So this is the warm-up. Let's get into the workout. Alright guys, now that you've finished the warm-up, here is the workout. It's going to be a little confusing when you see or read this at first, but let me explain. It'll be pretty easy, pretty basic, and something you can really push yourself on. So we're going to do a death by alternating EMOM, which essentially means 1 minute it's going to be, the weight is going to be on one side of the body, let's say the right shoulder. The next minute the weight is going to be on the left side of the body, on the shoulder. Okay? So the big thing to keep in mind is on both of those, the reps are going to be the same, okay? So if you get to a point where you fail with the first side and that same rep 2 set there, then you're going to try and complete the same number of reps on the other side, stop there. If you get to a point where on the second side you fail, then that's our death by, we end right there, and nothing else to do. Now, your weight on this is going to be your choice. The way this is set up, the lighter the weight, the more reps you're going to get, the further you're going to get, the longer this is going to become. The heavier the weight, the exact opposite. Okay? So our reps are going to ascend as we go. You see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 refers to the combination of 2 movements. Okay? So on minute 1, you are going to do a front squat with the weight loaded on the right shoulder, into a left leg stepping back reverse lunge step, again with the weight weighted on the right shoulder. So it's going to be squat, lunge. That's one I can rest the rest of the time. Now for that second minute, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to switch sides. So the weight's going to be on the left shoulder. I'm going to do my front squat, and then my right leg's going to go back into that lunge. Again, one time through that combo and rest the rest of the time. When I get to that next minute, so that third minute, it's going to be 2 on the weighted right. So it's going to be squat, left leg back lunge, squat, left leg back lunge, and then the same thing with the weight on the opposite side and the opposite foot going back on minute 4. All right. So theoretically, we can use pretty much anything to weight this. I'm going to demonstrate in a second here for the prescribed version with a dumbbell. Kettlebell, dumbbell are pretty much going to be the same thing today. If you guys want, stick around. There'll be a video at the very end that'll go over the modifications, weight vests, if we only have barbells, if we only have plates, if we only have bands, if we only have a medicine ball, or if we don't actually have any weights, but we do have things that we can utilize to weight the movement of the workout. Alright guys, so here's what I'm looking for as I described from the RX portion of the workout. That weight's going to be on a single side shoulder. It can be stacked, it can be front rack, so to speak. That is up to you. For that first round, I'm going to do my 1 squat, and then the left leg is going to go back into the lunge. For the second minute, it's going to be the exact opposite. Remember, you guys rest the rest of the time, so nothing necessarily needs to be that aggressive in terms of speed until we get a little bit further in and it starts pushing you on your rest. Now, if we get lost in the lunges, specifically which leg is moving, as we're going through these rounds, I want in that lunge the weight to be stacked over the front hip, okay? So the off leg, the off hip is the one that's always gonna be moving back into that lunging position. And again, whether it's a dumbbell or a kettlebell, stack it here, I can stack it up on top, doesn't really matter, they're gonna be pretty much the same thing.
Stay tuned for movement modifications.
Alright guys, obviously got a lot of things here I can run through for the modifications, bear with me, try and get through it quickly so you guys can get rolling. So probably my favorite one is gonna be the weighted vest here, or if I'm somebody that has a weighted book bag or something along the lines that I've been using for things like pull-throughs, goblet squats, stuff like that. Right, so essentially what I'm looking for here is the ability to do those two movements in as normal of circumstances as possible. Right, so we have our weight vest. We can have a medicine ball, in which case I'm just gonna stack that on the right shoulder. I can even hold it on the chest in front. Doesn't matter, same idea there. We have a band. Now, if you're gonna use a band for this, right, we've learned before, it is possible to add some resistance to this, in which case you're probably gonna feel that a lot more in the lunge than you're going to in the squat, but that's also the case for pretty much anything we're gonna use in this workout. I would loop this under and only under the foot that's going to be staying in position in the lunge, okay? Obviously that's going to take away some resistance and stress from your squat. That's fine, it's easier than having to slide that foot in and out every time you're going to take the lunge, because that's going to take up a lot of time and it's really going to slow you down. Now, if we only have a plate, obviously you guys can just hold this in front. You can always take the plate, set it on the shoulder, kind of off to the side here. We could even potentially stack that plate if your trap's going to be able to handle that stress that's being put down on it, so it's not sitting on your collarbone. If you want to try and get really creative, you can always try and hold that plate at your side. Just keep in mind, lunge is pretty much going to be okay. The awkwardness of the squat may be a little too much for some people. I want you to make sure you're not getting yourself into a bad squatting position just to hold the weight like that. Now, if we're going to go to a barbell, okay, the easiest place to have this bar would obviously be in a back rack position for the back squat and then for the lunge, because one, it's easiest to stabilize. It's mostly over the center of mass versus all the other positions, and it requires the least amount of effort to stabilize it and keep it in position. The problem, however, is going to be once we get a little bit further into the workout, it takes a while to get the bar into the back position, and it takes a little while to get out of the back position. So that's going to cost you some time, in which case, from there, I would probably recommend, a front squat and reverse lunge. If you're going to be holding this bilateral, let's stick with the rep scheme, meaning all 1 minute's going to be one leg on the lunge, the other minute's going to be the other leg on the lunge, right? Instead of combining them and making this half as long of a workout. You can also obviously throw it on the back the minutes you're not going to have the problem at the time, and then make that transition and shift to the front rack position as it gets a little iffier. That is up to you guys. If you want to make super creative, toss this up overhead, whatever the weight may be, give yourself an overhead squat, and then a reverse lunge step from that overhead position. That works as well. Keep in mind, you guys can get pretty much out of this whatever you want. Again, depending on if the weight is heavy, if the weight is light. I know we have somebody at home that literally has a punching bag, a heavy bag, that they like to try and get on their shoulders for heavy squatting days. That would be an amazing way of doing this today. It's going to be a lot shorter though than me holding a 35-pound dumbbell.